What is going down, KliqPod family? This is Mean Dean from the Outsiders Podcast, now known as the Kliq Podcast or KliqPod. It's too sweet. Today we're doing Mean Dean's A through Z pay-per-view review, and we are stopping at WWE Armageddon 2006. Couple more updates for you guys. Want to cover some things. The name change, KliqPod or the Kliq Podcast. We're changing our name to that. We want to get away from the diluted versions of the other Outsiders podcasts. Nobody owns KliqPod except for us and you now because a family is in the house. Some other things you guys maybe look out for: new merchandise, new logos, new intros, and of course our WWE WrestleMania live pre-show on YouTube, April 8th at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Let's go ahead and jump into this one now. For those of you who watched all the Armageddons, or those of you who didn't, this was a crazy Armageddon, and this is one that always stands out to me. Not necessarily as the best, but the craziest Armageddon I've ever seen. Jumping into it, match number 1, MVP, or Montel Vontavious Porter, versus Kane in the Inferno match. Now, the Inferno match, fire around the entire ring. I have to say, though, if you've ever seen an Inferno match, you see when people do moves in the middle of the ring, or DDTs or whatever, somebody hits a button, the fire goes up, like high. And Michael Cole's touting this. He's like, oh, the fire's going to get as high as 8 feet tall. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, or even JBL. Fucking JBL was rough in this one. I'll get to that. The guy who's running the pyro was terrible at it. You know how many moves hit that he just couldn't? Like, he just wasn't paying attention, I guess. And the flames weren't going up very often. But you had to figure this one wasn't going to be very technically sound or anything like that. It is a Inferno match with flames around the ring. You're just trying not to get put on fire, I suppose. JBL is playing this match way too up. I really hated it. I really hated how he was talking about it. Because he kept saying that someone will get burned and somebody's going to go to a hospital, and why the hell are we doing this? And I'm like, man, Jabes, you are way over the top with this one. You need to stop, because now you're just turning people off. You're like, dude, shut the fuck up and let me watch the match. You know, and then the flames were just not very great. And some of them even went out. Some of the bars where the flames were even went out. But one of the great things about this match was that their struggle to push each other into the fire actually looked fairly real. And I'm sure that none of them wanted to be put on fire, but let's be real, this is a scripted show. And somebody was going to. But man, the struggle looked very real between MVP and Kane. I thought that was pretty cool. The winner, come on, who else is going to be? You think MVP is going to win an Inferno match? Kane wins the Inferno matches. Even afterwards, JBL is still playing this thing up. Like, this guy's going to have to go to the hospital. What are we going to do? It's almost like makes you feel uncomfortable. You're like, okay, I get it. Okay. It's like one of those friends who just won't shut up. They're like, yes, I know. Shut up. I couldn't tell him to do that. I would have to have a time machine. I really wish I did have one at the time. So I would have just went up and slapped JBL in the face. Probably took his cowboy hat. It's probably a lot of money. But anyway, I'm digressing. Match number 2, best match of the night. Say it first off. Now, started off as Brian Kendrick and Paul London versus Taylor and Regal. Another partner for William Regal, as I'd mentioned in my last review. Teddy Long comes out. And I knew what happened here. And this is the one thing I very, very much vividly remember. I knew that he was going to come out and change the stip and also add people. Because everybody knew going into this that the buy rates were going to be down already. So instead of doing that, they decided to give the fans a show. See, that's how you do it, WWE. All of a sudden, enter Eminem, Nitro Mercury, enter the Hardy Boys, and we got ourselves a 4-way tag team ladder match. Boom! It was amazing. I very, very much remember this match. And I also, before I even get to it, remember Joey Mercury blasting his fucking face so hard on the ladder that he basically broke his entire face. That's not an exaggeration. Go watch the fucking pay-per-view. Also, if you ever listen to Michael Cole, in anything. Not so much now. Well, maybe even now. He tends to say, "Are you kidding me?" several times. If you ever want to make a drinking game out of it, when he says, "Are you kidding me?" every 2 seconds, then you just drink. You'll be hammered, but you'll drink. And one of the things that really bugged me as well, and I'm talking about Dave Taylor specifically, William Regal's partner, how is it that AJ Styles was overlooked by WWE. WWE's just like, no, we don't need him. Yeah, we're going to bring in a fucking Dave Taylor? Really? We're going to bring in Heidenreich, we're going to bring in Snitsky, but not AJ Styles? That's strange. And I also wonder why they don't do the four-way tag stuff anymore, because that's always fun. And even if you have some shitty teams in there, there's always some unpredictability involved. That's, just another thought. And in my notes, I put, "Here it comes!" exclamation mark. Holy shit, just as gruesome as I remember. Matt Hardy held on to Joey Mercury's head way too long, and his face got smashed the fuck out by that ladder. I mean, instant blood, pouring everywhere, eyes shut. It's insane. I highly recommend, I can't even describe it well enough. I can tell you step by step how this works. I can't even describe it well enough. Go check out the pay-per-view on WWE Network. The best part about this whole match, outside of just the craziness, is that David Taylor and William Regal are just afraid of heights. Like, they just couldn't do it. So basically, they were put at the biggest disadvantage over everybody. But the one thing I totally forgot, and the one move I totally forgot, is how Brian Kendrick totally botched a sliced bread off the top of the ladder. Landed on his fucking head. Yeah, off the top of the ladder. Half-ass backflip. Landed on his head. I couldn't fucking believe it. However, Kendrick is a badass. London's a badass. They won the match. Still WWE champs. Tag champs. That was a great match, and I highly recommend. That's one of my favorite matches of all time in Armageddon. Next match was a throwaway. The Miz versus the Boogeyman. And if you remember the Boogeyman, it's just, he wasn't very good. He had like some pump handle slam, I guess. He was trying to be Farouk or some shit. Farouk, Ron Simmons, whoever you want to call him. And and the Miz came out with this terrible spray tan. And this is early Miz, so he's coming out saying, "This is the true story." And it was just, man, can you believe how far the Miz has come from that? The Miz is one of the best people on the mic now. The Miz has gained respect from the fans after 12 some years. That's insane, right? Crazy. I guess in this, it's about 12 years. But, the Boogeyman's entrance was longer than the match itself. That's it. Boogeyman won. You don't need to know any more than that for a Boogeyman Miz match. They're also really playing up this lingerie match. Some, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a Santa's Little Helper lingerie match or something. And this is really the intro into Vicky Guerrero's character post Eddie Guerrero. You see in the storylines, makes things a little bit uncomfortable because she is also battling Chris Benoit. It's her and Chavo versus Chris Benoit. Not her in a match, but she's Chavo's valet. And I don't know, again, just because we know what the outcome is in life, which is unfortunate. I'm going to say this at the expense of fans leaving our site, because I love all you guys, but, this is an opinionated story. This is an opinionated podcast. I love Chris Benoit. I do. He is arguably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and I truly don't believe that there was any evidence other than what was visually present to convicting him for what happened. Based on everybody who knew him very closely, it did not make sense based off what happened. So now we got to go back, and I'm doing these pay-per-view reviews, and I'm seeing Vicky Guerrero, and she's getting intimidated by Chris, and it's kind of a strange feeling. You know what I mean? Match number 4, lead us in. Chavo Guerrero versus Benoit for the U.S. title. Not that this was a bad match, though. It's clear that it's not Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. And it'll never be Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. But, Chavo's Chavo. Benoit's still great. Benoit's still the U.S. champ. Match number 5, Gregory Helms versus Jimmy Wang Yang for the Cruiserweight title. This is post-Hurricane. So Greg Helms is trying to be a legit wrestler, heel type of guy. JBL is basically just reaching for stuff to talk about during the match. It wasn't like a great match, and there were just way too many holds for a title match. It wasn't great at all, but it was super, super boring, and Helms is still the Cruiserweight champ. JBL clearly pointed out, which was actually really funny, though, how the fans aren't responding to the match and how disrespectful that was. That was pretty funny. Match number 6, I thought this match was pretty good. The Undertaker versus Mr. Kennedy. Last ride match is basically where you have to put your opponent in the hearse and drive off, which was kind of strange. Because I understand later on that last ride matches were basically being put in the back and shutting the door. and that was the win. But in this case, that wasn't the case. But it took 8 minutes to get to the match between Kennedy's promos when he does his entrance and Taker's entrance. So it seemed kind of inefficient for time's sake. But Kennedy was playing the heel role well, though. And I always thought he was a really good heel. And I always thought he was a really good wrestler, too. But it is strange that I thought you had to basically shut the door to win. And now in this one, you have to drive off. So I thought that was kind of weird. When he shut the door on Taker, I was like, oh, it's over. And then I look back, I'm like, oh, wait, shit, it's not over. They go up on those prop sets. And the prop sets for Armageddon back then were really cool, but they're tall. It's about 20 feet off the ground on one of the prop stages. And Kennedy throws Taker down to the ground. They did such a good job with that when they showed Taker on the ground, it didn't look like there's any padding beneath him or anything like that. So I thought that was really cool. Shot for shot, that was a really cool shot. Naturally, they make their way up on the top of the hearse, tombstone, top of the hearse, and Taker's your winner. So it was a pretty good match. I'd put that up there close to match of the night if that 4-way tag team ladder match wasn't so batshit crazy. Then they did the lingerie thing. Basically, it was Jillian Hall licking her tits the whole time. I'm not even kidding you. You can go look. That's what she was doing. It was weird. And then Big Dick Johnson was Santa. I don't know if you guys know Big Dick Johnson. He's basically a fat guy who oils himself and dances all the time and wears a thong. That's Big Dick Johnson for you. That's it. I don't want to talk anymore about Big Dick Johnson. Last match, Batista and John Cena versus King Booker and Finlay. Now, Batista was the WWE champion. John Cena was the world champion. King Booker was King Booker, and Finlay was just those add-in guys. I already hated the match on paper. Just being a pay-per-view main event just didn't make sense to me. If you go back and listen to my other reviews, which you should because they're amazing, you'll notice that most of the pay-per-view main events are not great pay-per-view main events. It was kind of boring. And really, there's no fan investment in the match either because we're not getting a title match. We're not getting a number one contender. We're not getting any investment from WWE, so the fans are just saying, fuck it, I'm not invested in this either. Batista and Cena won the match, and that was the end of the pay-per-view. It was an amazing pay-per-view for 2006. You know, what can you do? Because this one didn't have such great news, I do have better news for you. Again, the Outsiders Podcast, changing the name to the Kliq Podcast. WrestleMania pre-show, YouTube, April 8th, noon. Mountain Standard Time. Check us out. We are going to be on there live. Bring all your questions. Tell us what you want us to talk about. And starting 34 days till WrestleMania, we're going to cover the top 34 matches of all time in WrestleMania. For me and Dean, A through Z pay-per-view review. Enjoy.